So now we're going to start on the skills needed for the hands-on exercises, exercise 3. And that is going to use logical operations and lookup operations along with, I'll get out here in a minute, logical, lookup, financial functions. There we go. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look up the interest rate. And if you look at this, you will see that the interest rate depends on the years. So if it's 15 years, it's if your mortgage is going to be 15 years, the interest rate is going to be 4.25%. So the first thing we're going to do, and yes, I know you could look here and you could figure out what the interest rate is, but we're going to put it into a function so that we can copy it down. So this is clicking on formulas, and we're going to look at the lookup and reference functions. So I'm going to look here. Now, let's start off with this way. There's two types of lookup functions. One is a VLOOKUP, the other is an HLOOKUP. A VLOOKUP will look for data stored in columns. An HLOOKUP would look for data stored in rows. So I'm in the cell where I want the rate to appear, and I go to lookup reference and I look at VLOOKUP. Alright, so the first thing you want is the lookup value. That is, what are you going to be looking up? So I can hit this little red arrow here, and I'm looking up years because the rate depends on the years. When you're asking yourself, and the years here are in F9, when you're asking yourself, okay, what is my lookup value? What determines the number that you want to appear in that cell at the end? And that's your lookup value. Okay. Now, your table or array is going to be this information here. Where am I going to find my value? Okay. Because here's my 15 and here's my 4.25. And then the next thing, what column is my value in? Now in this case, we only have a 2-column table, but we just as easily could have had 5, 6, 7, 8, depending upon what we were looking up. So here, this is column 1 and this is column 2. So I can just simply type in my column 2. All right, and notice that down here at the bottom, it immediately says 4.25%. 15 years is 4.25%, so we have done it correctly. All right, so I'm going to click on OK. Now, I'm going to double click this. Oh, what happened here? Oh, what happened here? What am I doing? Okay. Remember we talked about absolute references and relative references. Well, when I copied this down, what did it do? This is E4 to F6. This now says E5 to F7. So it's starting here and coming down. All right. So I need to put in my absolute address. So I'm going to do Control Z to undo, and I'll do Control Z to undo it again. And I'm going to do VLOOKUP. Now remember, the lookup value is the cell that determines what the value of this cell is going to be. So in this case, it's the number of years, so we're going to click there. Okay. Then the table or array. Again, this is my table or array. Now what I do now is I press F4. Notice that it makes the entire range here an absolute address, which is what we want it to do. All right, and then my column index number is 2. Okay, so you can be correct on your first one and have the other one screw all up if you don't make sure you use the absolute addresses. All right. And once we get out of that column index number, okay, all right, now we're going to click OK. Circular reference. What did I screw up? Oh, I put G9 instead of F9 in. Okay, no problem. I can fix that. I can click up here in the formula bar. I can erase the G. I can put an F in, and I can hit enter. And there's my 4.25%. Now, I should have noticed that. The number did not show up at the bottom in my VLOOKUP dialog box. All right, so now I'm going to drag that down like that. I've added my absolute reference to my table, so everything is just fine. VLOOKUP is used to look up across columns. Okay? HLOOKUP is used to look up down rows. Now the next thing we're going to do is calculate the monthly payment. Right? Remember, this is a monthly interest rate, and this is a number of years. Now we're going to calculate the monthly payment. Now the monthly payment is a financial function, and it's a PMT is the name of it. And here it is right here. All right. And notice that it wants the rate, and the rate is the monthly rate, and then the number of periods. So we're going to click here on payment, and we're going to come up with a payment dialog box. Okay, so what we have here is we need a monthly rate. All right. Notice it tells you here interest rate per period for the loan. Okay, so we're going to click the arrow, and we're going to come over here, and then we're going to click the division sign, and we're going to go here, which is F12, which is B5, and then we're going to make that absolute, so we don't have a problem with it. All right. So what we've said is we're going to take the interest rate divided by 12. Then the number of periods, we're going to come over here. There are 12 months in a year. So we're going to take 15 years, we're going to hit the times, shift and 8, and then, oops, that's 98, I hit an 8 instead of the shift and 8, okay, times, all right, B5, and again I'm going to make that absolute, so that when I copy it I don't have any problem with it, and then the present value is going to be the amount financed. So I'm going to hit my arrow here, and I'm going to hit my amount financed. Now there's nothing that has to be absolute address there. Now in a quirky thing with Excel, if there's not a negative number in here, you're going to come up with a negative monthly payment, which obviously isn't right. So what we do is we make the present value, or in this case the amount financed, negative, and we'll come up with a positive number. We don't need these. If it's in bold, it has to be filled in. If it's not bold, it does not. So we'll click OK. All right. Now, because we made these absolute addresses, we can simply drag down. Remember that if you get the pine signs, you simply need to do like that. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our Ranch Club memberships. A Ranch Club membership is offered to everyone if they finance more than $80,000. Okay? Now, yes, we could come over here and we could look here and we could say yes, no, whatever. But what we're going to do is we're going to use a logical function called an if statement. So I'm going to hit here, and I'm going to hit the if statement. Now, if statement is 3 parts. It has a logical function. A logical function will be a cell address, either greater than, less than, equal to, and then either another cell address or an amount. Then you're going to put in the value if it's true and the value if it's false. All right. So our logical test is based on, again, it's the same thing as the VLOOKUP, what determines what you want. Amount financed has to be greater than 80,000. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to hit the shift period to get the greater than symbol, 80,000. All right. The value, if it's true, is simply going to be yes. The value, if it's false, oh, do I need the quotes there? Yeah, okay, and it put it in for me. And the value, if it's false, is going to be no. All right, so we're going to click OK. So this is yes. So if I double click this, notice that the only one who did not finance more than 80,000 was 30865, and so theirs says no. Everybody else says yes. Okay. This is the end of the skills for hands-on Excel Chapter 2, hands-on exercise 3. And again, and I didn't save it right the last time, so now I have a problem, but that's okay. I'll tell you how we'll deal with that. We're going to click Save As. Well, we're going to click, okay, there we go. And I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to do ExcelCH2HOE3, because that's what it is. Now, I'm fortunate this time. The fact that I didn't save it under the right name after the last time, all I have to do is go back and bring this range or this sheet up, and nothing changed on this when we did SL3. We did the third exercise. So I can come over here and I can do this, and I can change that 3 to a 2, and now I have it. Now, you really need to have to watch your file names. That's the first thing every hands-on exercise tells you to do, and you have to do that. But sometimes you forget, just like I just did, and then you have to go back and fix it. Now, if this spreadsheet had changed, I would have to take out all the changes and save it as 2. Okay, so next video will be on hands-on exercises 4,